Today is April 7th, 2015. We are at the Louisville Fire Station, number 2. And this is Barbara Jagan and Jean Morgan. We're doing the oral history interview for the Louisville Historical Museum. In July of 2013, we interviewed 5 former captains and 2 other longtime volunteers with the Louisville Fire Department. However, we ended the interview with even more stories untold. So 2 years later, we are back together again. Since we have a lineup that's a bit different, we're going to start out by asking each of you to identify yourselves. We'll go from left to right. And I'd like to know your names, the years you were with the department, not just as captain, but all the years, and how many years you and your families have lived in Louisville. And then from there we'll go to questions for everyone. So can we start right over here with our new member?
My name is David Yost. I moved to Louisville in 1979, summer, and I joined the department in August of 1980. So that makes me kind of the new kid on this
You're the new kid on the block.
But my family's lived here until kids flew the coop and that sort of thing. So we've been here pretty steady. And I was on the department from 1980 to August of 2000. So I got my 20 years in. And I was chief in 1997.
Okay, good. Give me your first name again so I've got it right.
David.
David, okay. No, why was it you? Okay.
I'm Bill Ryan, lived in Louisville 68 years. Been married, raised 3 kids here, 53 years. Wife and I have been married. I joined the fire department in February of 1965, retired in February of 1985, and was chief in 69 and 70.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Leo Dvorsky. I've lived in Louisville all my life, 81 years. What was the rest of the questions?
How long were you with the fire department?
I joined the fire department in February of 1955 and retired in July of 1977.
20 years?
22 years.
22.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm George Brown. Lived in Louisville 76 years now, and joined the fire department in 1959. Retired in 79 after 20 years. Was chief in 67.
In 1967?
1967.
For how long?
Pardon me?
For how long?
Just 1 year for chief.
1 year, okay.
Yeah. We were limited to 1 year in those
Okay.
days.
All right, great. Wayne?
Dwayne Elrod. I've lived in Louisville 70 years. I joined the fire department in 1966. Left in 1981. Chief in 1975.
In 1975. Okay. Ron?
Ron Leggett is my name, and I've lived in Louisville for 73 years. I came here halfway through the 2nd grade, and my wife and I have been married for 60 years. We live in the same place since we've been married. I joined the fire department in 1955 and left in 1977 after 22 years. And let's see, did I say that I joined in 1955 to 1977? Okay. And I'm past chief, and I was chief in 1965.
And all of this time, it was a complete volunteer fire department, is that right?
Yes.
About how many members of the fire department did you have during those years?
At most 40.
You're Leo.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
The most 40 people.
Yeah.
Well, we had a limit. I mean,
Yeah,
that was our maximum.
It was,
40
okay.
members.
Okay.
And we had a waiting list.
yeah, you
people to
mentioned that
get-
before,
to
there was
join up.
really
Yeah.
a lot of people wanting to
Yeah.
come along. Have any of your other family members been members of the fire department?
My father was,
My dad
Leo.
was.
Yeah, okay. So,
My brother was.
yeah,
My grandfather was
oh my gosh.
way early.
Do you remember some of the dates for that, when that would have been? Your grandfather, what,
McDonald, Alan McDonald.
in the 30s or 40s?
I can't really actually
Uh-huh.
remember, but I just know because I have his 5-year pin.
Yeah,
And he was also the town marshal of Louisville.
so that's Ron's grandfather.
Yes, my grandfather.
Yeah, yeah.
Leo here, my dad joined the fire department in 1946. My uncle Andy was also in the fire department, probably around that same time. He was also a past chief and past chief.
Yeah, yeah. Big family, and
My
then,
dad,
yeah, George.
Abe, he was a member, I think, joined around 46 or 47. And, well, he died in 53, so he was still a member when he died.
Any others had family? What about any sons? Did any sons join the fire department?
My son, this is Bill, my son, he was a short time, I can't remember what years, shortly after he was out of high school. Or he was 21, we had, at that time they had age limit of 21, but he was a short time, not very long. Year or two as I remember.
Went off to other.
Yeah, he got married, moved out of town, so
Yeah,
he had to resign.
yeah, yeah. So since we interviewed before, we've lost some of the former fire people, firemen, I guess. There weren't any women when you all were on the fire department. So, you want to recall? I know the Steinbaugh brothers.
Yeah, all three of them in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Herb was a past chief,
Yeah.
and he was the
Okay.
first to die, I think, and then Glenn, and then Jack. So,
Jack was the
But
one.
Jack and Glenn were both retired firemen.
Yeah.
They weren't.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
were-
they hadn't been
They
chief.
had retired, yes.
Yeah,
All three.
yeah. Jack was with us the last time, I think,
Yeah.
with this, and we talked about the Steinbaugh fires. Good thing they had some of them on the fire department. I guess. Since we met the last time, you haven't lost any other former captains?
I don't think
Yes,
so.
most of
Well,
you
Not to my knowledge,
Uh-huh.
I don't think so.
Were you all called by your first names, or did you have nicknames? We've met a lot of people in Louisville that never went by or never got called, at least, by their real names. Anybody have nicknames? I'm pretty sure
I've
you
been
could.
legs since the second grade almost.
Ron has been legs. Short for legged, huh?
That's right.
Okay.
Bill, my nickname through grade school, high school, and all into the fire department was Goats. That was my nickname, Goats.
How did that come about?
Well, when we moved to Louisville, 1951, my father had a big herd of goats, and he made cheese and sold cheese.
Oh.
So we wound up with the nickname of Goats
Yeah.
when I was in school. Yeah. That's how that all came about.
This is Dwayne. I had a nickname Shotgun, which was abbreviated into gun or gunner. So,
So how did you get that?
my dad gave it to me, and I don't know why or how. Yeah.
But did it go through school? Were you called
Yes.
shotgun or gun in school? We have a long list of nicknames, so we'll add some of these to it.
They call me a lot of names, but not very often.
There aren't any that you want to repeat on film, huh? Okay.
I think we all been down that road, George. Yeah.
Dave, what about you?
No nickname.
No nicknames.
No. I don't think they knew what to do with me, so I was thinking from out of town.
Yeah. I'd like to know, we talked the last time about your calls to the fires and how some of you were in town at the time, others of you were, because most of you had, probably all of you had full-time jobs at the same time that you were devoting all this time to the fire department. So how many firemen usually came out for a fire?
Daytime, it was kind of sparse.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the Steinbachs and
Yeah.
Bomber.
Les Davis was normally around town. And
But for
so if you had
But Tharp,
Yeah.
And prior to
Decker.
Decker, when he was in town.
So,
I know Bud Graves too. He was a
One grade,
Yeah.
Bud Graves years ago.
electrician.
so you'd have 10 or 12 in
Yeah.
town,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is all.
So you did a lot of fighting fires nighttime, I presume. Or the night so you worked all day and then you were
Well,
called
we
out.
have a better turnout in the evenings
Yeah,
and through the night.
yeah. We talked a little about the highway mine fire, but I wanted to find out more about that and about any calls that you got to the mines.
None of us were in the department when the highway.
Okay, that was before.
That was 1954.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was
Yeah.
prior to your serving.
Yeah.
What about while you were serving as fireman? Did you ever get called to any of the mines that, some of them I think have had fires?
A few times after the Centennial Mine closed down,
Yeah,
the city and everybody else used to put their trash down the
The old mine shaft.
shaft, yeah.
okay.
And then, spontaneous combustion, every once in a while they'd catch a fire and they'd call us out there, put it out.
Where was the Centennial?
And that dump out there burned all the time.
Yeah.
It never did get that far up.
Do you know out on 42 before you get to 287?
Okay.
Where all those white fences are?
Mm-hmm.
Well, just a little bit east of that is the Centennial Mine. My uncle, Bill Pittsford, at the end of the mine, he was part owner, one-third
I see.
owner in that mine,
I see.
along with John Stevens, and I forget who the other one was, but there was three of them.
So was that the only mine that people were dumping into? Was
No.
there a reason for that, or did they
No,
do that in other places?
when the industrial mine in Superior closed down, that was used as a dump site too.
Really?
Yeah. Bill Buffalo and I we were still in high school, and Anthony Colaci had an old truck that he'd let us use, and we'd go around emptying ash pits, and then we'd haul it out there to the
Did you get paid for that?
Huh?
Did you get paid for
Oh yeah,
it?
not very much, but a buck or two, but it was quite a bit when we was kids in high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. Anybody else
No,
get
never
involved
had
in
mines.
dumping the trash? But it sounds like it was approved. I mean, there wasn't anything
Oh yeah.
wrong with it. It was just
Yeah.
that it did start fires once in a while. Yeah, yeah. There are stories about the fires and some of them underneath the city. Have you ever been called to anything that resembles that, where you've actually?
I don't recall anything like that.
I think
Yeah.
that was all before us.
That's before our
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Out there near Marshall, and it's probably still burning, but it did burn for years and years, but that was out of our area.
Yeah.
And nobody paid much attention to it, they just let it burn.
Yeah, yeah.
Ain't going no place.
Right. So you said Marshall was out of your area, but you did a lot of work in the rural areas, didn't you? How did that work? Did
We
you
had
get?
a rural association,
Uh-huh.
and it wasn't mandatory. Basically, we had no way to make it mandatory to join, but they used to pay an annual fee, and we had a rural association, and the rural association bought a fire truck. The
As a
rural
matter of
truck.
fact, there it
This
is.
one.
This one.
Oh, this is the one behind you
Yeah.
that they purchased?
And, So
Yeah.
basically, they bought us a truck and we would take care of them. And we didn't really question whether they were a paid-up member or not. If we got a call, we answered it, you know. And that's what led to the formation of a fire district later on, so everybody paid equally for their fire coverage.
So the rural homeowners, and I suppose some of those were farms too, they joined their own association, and then the association
It was
contracted with you.
Yeah, it was part of Louisville Fire Department. And they, I don't know what kind of agreement it was, whether it was ever written up.
I think it was just
Or a
I
handshake.
think it was a gentleman's verbal agreement
Really?
at that time.
Could do that.
They were almost
Yeah.
all farmers at that time. All that, there weren't very many houses out in that area.
Did you have barn fires or?
Haystack.
Haystacks?
Hay bale fires,
Yeah.
plenty of them.
A lot of weed fires.
Yeah, trains started a lot of fires back then.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year it was, but old Steve Harney's place down over the Harney's place caught on fire one afternoon, big haystack fire there. I don't remember what year that was. And we spent the whole afternoon there, and then we had Vara Construction come in with a big loader and tear the haystack apart so we could put the fire out.
Wow.
Didn't we lose a farmer,
This is Bill speaking, and now Dwight. Okay, yeah.
a farmer out by the old Fairview High School, Stingle? Wasn't he burned to death in a chicken coop? Was that?
You're right,
Yeah.
Dwayne, you're right.
Yeah.
Boy, he did. He died in that.
That was one of the Stingles.
That was Joe Stingle.
That both
I don't
We
know.
answered the call.
Yeah.
we did?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I don't remember. That
yeah.
must not have been
That
it.
was on 55th, wasn't it?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
Past
yeah,
Arapahoe?
just past Arapahoe.
That was Joe Stingle. They found him dead in that chicken house, dead, caught fire and burnt. I remember that. Dwayne's right.
So what about that when you probably have had some, maybe even auto accidents and things, and how did you handle that, and especially afterwards? You probably didn't have psychologists and things that were part of the department to help you.
Well, we did psychology.
Yeah,
It didn't seem to be a problem.
yeah,
It was noticeable.
yeah.
Yeah, right. I think one of the worst ones that I remember was when the two Andrus boys died in that upstairs house there. In fact, the father just died here not long ago, just a short time ago.
That was just over on Lincoln.
Inland.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right
it's
down
supposed to
where you
be,
went, right,
yeah.
And
Yeah,
the two boys were upstairs, and the dryer had caught fire. And Howard Pollock and myself,
Yeah,
because we lived the closest, got there, and we could hear them boys screaming in there. We couldn't get to them. It was so hot, so much smoke. And two kids, small kids, died in that fire. That I carried for a long time.
Yeah, I bet.
I carried that for a
yeah.
long time.
That was in February, it was cold.
Cold, yeah. In fact,
Ice.
went down to my house, got a barrel and some wood, and we set it up in the middle of the street, and built a fire in that barrel to keep warm that day, while they had the investigations and all.
but,
That was a sad time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had an experience that now that
Yes,
I
Leo.
recall that.
Uh-huh.
It was down there where the Ferraras lived, you know, that back little house right on the curve there. Got called down there one day, and I think Lemoyne was there. It was a little baby, and we were trying to give it mouth to mouth, and it wasn't successful. It had that, what do they call it? Sudden.
Sudden death syndrome.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That had nasty effect. Just holding that little baby.
Yeah,
and trying to-
yeah. Did you think you were, when you joined the fire department, that these were kind of things that you were going to deal with?
Not really.
Death?
Really, I mean,
Serious
it just kind of
incidents.
came along as
Yeah.
time went on.
Yeah.
Another one I remember real well was there was a guy coming home from work one night from Storage Tech, and train was across 144th.
I was going to bring that up, yeah.
And he smashed that car right in between two box cars, and the train stopped a half a mile down the track. That was Chris Smith's first fire call. I was with him that night when that happened. We had,
Alan Kaprowski?
no, this was a guy that worked at, well, I guess it was Rocky Flats, not Storage Stick, it was Rocky Flats. He was coming home from graveyard. The train was across the track and he didn't know it. He hit it, going about 40 miles an hour, I guess. Slammed his car right in between two boxcars and it stopped down the track behind Garnier's house, about a half a mile away from that, where he had hit it. That wasn't a pretty sight either.
Yeah, Ron, you were going to
I was going to mention the same thing,
Yeah.
That was, I remember that because it was just horrific. Getting him out of the car, he was just, there was just nothing there. It was just, everything was broken so much.
Yeah. Was the train stopped at the time?
No, it was going.
It was
crossing there.
See, there was no lights out there at that time or anything, no crossing guard or anything like that. And evidently he just maybe wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, was tired if he
didn't see he was tired maybe or something and being dark.
Yeah.
And he just ran into it.
Yeah.
This is Dwayne. I think in the days that we were in the fire department, most of the calls were called rescue calls. That was with the ambulance and stuff. There were more rescues than fires. Would you guys agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah, still is for sure.
So we had a little white ambulance and we would little heart attacks, accidents and stuff like that.
And so that could have been anything like somebody with a heart attack and you take them to the hospital, or is that?
Or automobile accident.
Yeah, or an automobile accident. Yeah.
Well, early on, we didn't have a rescue squad. We had a fire department, and we formed the rescue squad within the department. Gene Bardet, who was the past chief, was instrumental in those days, and it was all volunteer. If you wanted to get on the rescue squad, you just volunteered and took the training and that, and it was separate from the fire training, I mean, it was two different areas, but it was all the fire department.
Yeah.
And we started out with that old 4x4.
I think Bud Graves got it, didn't he, from the civil defense?
Civil defense.
What? Oh, this was your
Go up
ambulance?
South Boulder Hill and you get to the top at about 2 miles an hour. Prior to that time, Henning, G.R. Henning, the mortuary, provided the ambulance service for us if we had any ambulance calls. And so we managed to make do. We ended up with a pretty good group in this department that's well trained.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the training. What kind of training did you have?
It was all medical first aid training, and it was and civil defense provided bandages, all of that kind of stuff. Bud Graves, who was the past chief, was civil defense coordinator in Louisville, or whatever his title was.
Yeah.
And he managed to get us a lot of Army military first aid equipment. And that's pretty much how we stocked up for the first few years, and we had no money in our budgets for the rescue squad because it didn't exist basically, and so everything was just kind of all volunteer and all donated civil defense stuff. And Bardet, well, actually both Bardets, Gene and Bud, I don't know where they got their training, but they did a lot of the first aid trainers for us. Yeah. And it was quite an experience too.
It was. The one thing I remember too is when we got that first ambulance, that GMC, I guess it was.
Yeah, that was GMC.
That was a big deal for us in them days. But anyway, as I remember, we'd go take somebody to the hospital, and we had a perambulator and whole 9 yards. Well, we'd take the sheets off the perambulator and leave them at the hospital and take sheets from the hospital for our perambulator. They provided it for us.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
told us, you know, to go ahead and do. So we had clean sheets for the next one.
You weren't sneaking away with
No, we weren't stealing sheets, though.
They were doing the laundry for us.
Yeah, they were doing the laundry for us, right?
But
Yeah.
they donated a lot of supplies, because when we make a call, we'd
Yeah.
get a few there.
Sure.
Their supplies.
Hospitals were awful good about providing
Uh-huh.
sure stuff.
We didn't have a budget from the city
Yeah.
then. If we needed
Remember,
something.
you raised
we
a lot
did
of
it
money
ourselves.
yourselves, didn't you?
We had raffles and
Yeah.
We had a
Labor Day and-
monthly raffle.
we had some gambling after Labor Day down at the fire hall.
Oh, I'm going to ask you about that.
We got drove,
That's our
right?
income. I remember my budget when I was chief for the year was $3,800.
Yeah.
I think in our
That
budget,
was enough to buy a little fire hose and
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
about it.
just a little.
I was just, this is Ron speaking, I
Yeah.
think our budgets, most generally, when you was chief, it went for hose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that
you
was-
didn't get it handed
Yeah.
to you. You had
Yeah.
to go to the city council meeting and request it.
Well, did the hose wear out or
Yeah.
break?
Well,
or-
It would
at
roll.
that time, we had to have enough hose, because we had 2 fire trucks after a
Okay,
while.
yeah.
And, you know, when you had a fire, some hose is gonna get wet, and you have to put it on the drying rack in the station, and then you have to replace that hose on the truck.
Okay,
So,
yeah,
you always have to
yeah.
have
So you had the dry
standby
hose when you,
hose,
yeah,
absolutely.
went out.
Yeah.
And every year you'd blow a couple of lengths and
Yeah,
ruin a nozzle or
yeah, it was
it
always
was all
something.
brass and pretty
Yeah.
soft, and if you had
Yeah.
drug it on the ground, it'd ruin the threads. and,
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
there were a lot of ways.
I want to stick to the training just a little bit more. I wanted to ask David, because you came on a little bit later.
I did.
What kind of training, did it change from what they're telling about
Well,
here
actually,
now earlier?
and I'm David, the ambulance part was already pretty well set up. These guys did a good job of making it work with what they had. So when I showed up, I joined because of the medical part. I had the medical certs already. I'd spent 5 years with Rocky Mountain Rescue, the Boulder Group.
Oh, okay.
And I'd had some associations with the Red Cross, and so I had a pretty good level of training, and I fit right into that group. And the fire part just sort of, it
Somebody
grows on
said
you.
as long as
You
you're
walk
here.
next to the truck often enough, and pretty soon you're looking in the doors and all, and what's going on here? And then someone says, let's go drive one, and that's how you learn how to use the fire trucks back then. But yeah, I wanted to keep my certifications current, so that's what got me in. And yeah, I had a good time. We had some good people that were running the program at the time, and we changed our medical advisors shortly after I showed up. We ended up with St. Anthony's, and one of the things that they do, they're a training hospital, but they also train the people like in the fire departments or rescue squads around the area. They bring their training in for them too, and so they took us to a whole new level. And yeah, it was.
Did they charge for that, or was it
Not,
service of the hospital?
No, not really, because we'd end up trying to, take our patients there.
Sure.
And of course, our choices were, we could go to St. Anthony's North over on Federal, or we could go to Boulder Community, neither one of which is really close.
Yeah, but they were the
time-wise.
only real.
But that was the only show in town
Yeah.
for us, so, yeah, we didn't have anything local. So when you did go on a call, you were gonna be gone for the minimum of an hour, sometimes more like 2 if you had to. When you turn your patient over in the ER, you've got to talk to the docs or the nurses or whoever's gonna receive the patient, give them a report and all that sort of thing, and sometimes that can drag on a little bit if it's complicated. But, yeah, I really enjoyed running with the rescue squad, and hope I took it up a level with the rest of the guys. I think I did. But, it kind of leads into what we have today, and we have a pretty good ambulance service right now. So, at any rate, yeah, that was what brought me into the department.
So, this
Yeah,
is Dwayne.
Dwayne.
St. Anthony's was a good supporter of ours. They also helped us with Flight for Life.
Really?
We had a lot of calls and utilized that helicopter, which
We helped them raise funds for their first helicopter.
That's
For
right.
Flight for Life,
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And they were always worked very closely with us.
Well, St. Anthony's were they the only ones that had helicopter at that time?
Mhm.
Yep.
Early on,
As far as we know.
Yeah.
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of rescues or why would you be calling for the helicopter?
Well, if you had something serious enough, time was really a critical factor. Doing a half hour to get to the hospital in the ambulance, that might not be the right option. So if you really needed somebody out there to help you work it and transport your patient and get them there a lot faster, the air ambulance is the way to go. And they were really good. We called them a lot because we were kind of in no man's land for those kind of transports. And we'd land them in town, we'd land them.
I was wondering if they could, where did they land in?
Any place they
The
wanted to.
intersections or wherever they were.
It was amazing how those guys
Yeah.
could bring those helicopters in.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't be 2 feet outside of the ailerons, rotors, but they could just put it right down. And when I was in mountain rescue, we used the helicopter flight service quite a bit too. And a lot of it was St.
Imagine, yeah.
Anthony's. And,
Yeah.
there was one up in Larimer County, I think out of Fort Collins, and we'd use them from time to time. Yeah, all those pilots are just amazing.
So when they came in with the helicopter, and they were going to land at Louisville, did the fire department sort of secure the area, or
Yeah, that's the
so that
protocol.
they could
And
land?
then we would train with them to make sure we were doing what they needed,
Okay.
not doing what they didn't
Yeah.
need, and that sort of thing. And we got to be where normally the sheriff's department is really responsible for that kind of activities, but we sort of negotiated, is a nice way to say it. Got
To do
work
your
out
own.
that in Louisville, we did.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think we were pretty good negotiators for a lot of people.
Well, we got our way a lot, not
Over the years.
And I thought it was a good call myself. So.
Louisville was going to stand on its own.
Yes, indeed.
Well, let's see, some of my other questions, I wanted to really get at the training, and which we have done. I wanted to know, how, did you ever average out, or did you mark down your time that you spent, say, over a week or a month or a year with the fire department?
It was, there were logs kept.
Yeah.
For who was at a fire call, and logs kept for the training.
Uh-huh.
And it was pretty good. I mean, we had good records.
Well, I can imagine that you,
When you showed up for a
Spent
fire.
a lot of-
Everybody's name was put in the book and the date and what the fire call was.
And then you would get a nickel for each call, and that was to buy boots or whatever.
you're kidding, really?
Yeah.
A nickel?
We never got any.
You never even got a
I never
nickel?
got a nickel.
We had a monthly raffle
Yeah.
and raised money that way, and if you sold the tickets, you got credit towards the equipment and that kind of stuff and whatever.
Everybody was supposed to take 10 raffle tickets and sell them. And then we'd give half to the winner, and then the other half would go in
I see.
our fund.
What were
Which was
you
the
raffling?
pension fund.
Just money.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
take in
Oh,
$100,
okay,
we
it
give
wasn't
them half of it.
it wasn't an
Yeah.
object or anything,
No,
it was,
no.
And then when we started concentrating on the retirement pension plan, every dollar that we took in, 10% went into the pension plan. And that's how we got our pension.
and
funds
that's where
filled
your
out.
pension
But
plan
started.
is?
Prior
Started,
to being a fire district, so we had no
Yeah.
pension plan.
Yeah,
Well, we
Yeah.
did have,
Kind of.
yeah, kind of, if the city felt like it.
I don't recall what was guys like Bun Graves, what was their pension payment?
As I remember, Leggy at that time,
$10 a quarter.
$10 a quarter.
I think it was $10 a quarter.
That's right.
When
At
we
that
started
time.
working on it, they had $10,000 in a savings account at the Bank of Louisville, paying 1.5% interest. And they were paying $10 a quarter per member. And it was going down.
It wasn't
instead of going up.
working.
And that's when we, as part of the, that was a push also behind the fire district. Then we could, it was all kind of a combined push to get funds into the pension fund and into the fire department for equipment, and it was all incorporated in the forming of the fire district.
And when was the fire district formed? Somebody,
When you was chief, wasn't you, Bill? when you-
69 and 70 is when.
Okay.
We started in
Uh-huh.
67.
Yeah, and I think it was.
And
finally
Dean Weber
finalized.
was after me and before you, and during that period,
That's when
was the 2 years that we worked on it.
Right.
And finally got it through.
well, after that, then was there a tax that went directly to
Yeah,
the
mill
fire
levy.
district?
Yeah, you have
Mill
to
levy, yeah.
Mill levy, mhm.
petition the county.
Right,
And
yeah,
we go
yeah.
before the
put on,
county
and it's collected
commissioners
with
and get
the tax.
approval to
Yeah,
form the district
yeah,
and get approved on what your mill levy was gonna be and all of that.
Where the boundary lines were gonna be.
Yeah,
Where, what we were responsible for.
so.
We had to bring it to a vote of the area too.
that's what I was gonna ask, did people vote
Didn't we at
vote
that
on
time or
that?
no?
No,
We didn't have to do that.
no.
I think in
didn't
Forma
have
we
to do that.
voted
Yeah.
for,
It didn't have
to
to.
form
We
the
just had to
district.
take it to the county and get the county approval.
Approval, that's right, okay.
And then after that, then part of that went to the pension fund as well as to the
Yeah, we had
fire department,
the
so,
stipulation in there for so much for pension fund.
yeah,
And the mill levy, I think, was 3 mills when we started the district. Half a mill went to the pension fund and 2.5 to the equipment fund or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to get to things that were a little more fun. What did you, when you got through fighting a fire, or just in general, when you dropped in at the fire station, did you ever have any fun? Is that when you maybe played a little cards? Or?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
There was a.
Oh, a lot of fun,
there was a lot
okay.
of fun. There was some card playing
Yeah,
and probably some beer drinking.
of course.
And
I have to realize that in those days that the fire department was the social life in Louisville. There was nothing else.
Right, yeah,
And
yeah.
we had
Well, there's some stories about a little gambling going on once in a while. And the sheriff
Bill can tell you more.
The sheriff
about that. He was
ignored
involved.
it.
I should have brought we made the headlines of the Rocky Mountain News.
Oh, I
I
didn't
can't
know
remember
that.
what year it was, I'd have to look back.
It was 1972.
Is that what it was, 72? Anyway,
71.
we had a police chief in town that
70,
didn't
yeah.
care for us too much. The fire department got everything, he didn't get
71,
nothing.
you're right. Freeman was born.
We was having our annual Labor Day deal, and the sheriff come in and raided us, arrested 13 of us, took us to jail.
The police chief set us up, Bill.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
he's the one that,
He did it.
yeah,
he said it.
yeah.
Patrick.
Yeah.
Jimmy
needless,
Rice.
Yeah.
needless to say, he wasn't police chief very long.
Long Jack,
Right,
Long Jack Ramsey was the mayor.
And all of
And a active fireman.
all the nicknames were posted with the story.
Yeah.
He supposedly had set it up with the police chief in Louisville and told him everything we were going to do and that it was our annual fundraiser,
And it was,
you know.
yeah, it was okay because it
Yeah,
was,
we
yeah, the
thought.
city was,
We
yeah,
thought,
yeah.
we thought.
Ah,
Yeah, I did.
But they came in, they crashed the doors, and they had marked money that they put in our money, and they took us apart separately and had you pull out your billfold and show them your money, and they checked it all over and for their markings, and
Oh my.
confiscated
So
all
this
of our
was really
equipment.
set
We had
up.
a chuck-a-luck, and we had over and
Chips.
under, and they took it all. We had those good bone chips, and we never did see any. They still probably have it, them rats. Anyway, I was one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
They
Yeah,
hauled us
so-
off to jail and locked us all up. you know.
For how long?
We was in there for a few hours. We called up Herbie Steinbach because we thought maybe Herbie's got enough money to bail us out. You know? He said, I'm sorry. He said, I haven't got that much money in the house. so we just sit there, and finally they let us go.
Yeah.
I was very lucky. I was the treasurer of the fire department, and I was selling chips.
Yeah.
And in the old fire hall, we had a little counter that separated the little kitchen from the hall, and we're set up on that little counter selling chips. Well, I had a baby daughter that was just born, that was 71. That's when she was in September, about 6 months old.
Yeah.
And my wife came in and got me and says, got to take the baby home. Because we had been to the parade and everything, and she came in and got me, and old Nick Petit was standing by, and I said to Nick, I said, would you watch this for me till I take Sandy home and come back?
And Nick,
So he got arrested?
He got arrested. I was parked over there behind Dolby's old store, and came back and out into the street, and about that time, here come the cop cars. And you'd have thought it was a bank robbery or something. I mean, they really made a show out of it.
That's right. There was a bunch of them. They came in the back door. They came in the side door. They came in the window. They came everywhere.
Oh, yeah. And they had their guns out.
I was going to say, they think you had guns or something that you're going to
And then they put us on trial.
I told my wife, I said, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not going to stick around to find out.
We made the motor camera every day, I'm telling you.
Rocky Mountain News.
Mountain News.
Tuesday after Labor Day, it said Louisville Fire Chief and Mayor arrested for
Yeah,
gambling.
picture of it.
Yeah, big headlines in the Rocky Mountain News. I got them at home. I should have brought them up.
All them sheriffs got up there and testified against us, and
Yeah.
Well, after the parade, after the Labor
So this was after the Labor Day parade?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we used to go to all the bars in town, and we'd get kegs of beer donated. And the ladies' auxiliary would make sandwiches. And we had it all free in the fire hall. We'd give it away, and for all the people that were in the parade and all the.
So not just the fire?
No, they were right in town.
And
Okay.
it was wide open for the whole town.
Yeah.
we tried to entice them to come down there so we could get them to gamble so we could make some money.
That was the whole idea.
I'll tell you a story.
It's getting better and better.
When we were on trial, the judge's name was Richard Dana, D-A-N-A.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I know
for
Richard,
judge
yeah.
in Boulder for a long time. So years after that, we were buying a house for my daughter over here, and this realtor, his name was Rich Dana. And we were sitting there at the kitchen table, and I said, Rich, was your dad a judge? He says, yeah. And I said, you know, that SOB threw me in jail. That poor kid didn't know what to say. He didn't know if to stay there or leave. But he was a good judge. They let us off. We had to pay a fine, $50 each, and the charge was wagering on games.
Wagering.
I think there was only 7 of us who got fined. They turned, out of the 13, they turned 6 of us loose, but 7 had to go through them. And then it was the fire department of the city paid our fines.
Yeah.
And our lawyer fees.
Yeah, I think it was the city paid it.
That makes the story even better.
Yeah.
City ended up paying for
Paid the
it.
fines and our lawyer, well, the lawyer took it on, was a brand new lawyer.
Yeah.
And he done it for experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was our big fundraiser for the year.
Yeah.
We set up booths at the carnival.
Yeah.
We had 2 booths at the carnival, and Then on Labor Day, we had
Yeah,
the.
so you were selling chips
yeah.
at the carnival too?
No. Oh, yeah, that one,
Yeah.
beat the dealer.
Beat the
Yeah, beat the dealer.
Yeah,
Beat the dealer at the carnival.
And
The other
so-
one was a legitimate dog game.
Oh, okay.
For balloons.
Okay. So how long were you in jail?
I don't recall.
Well, they
got
arrested
out
us
the
around
same day.
noon or 1
Yeah,
o'clock.
so.
And by evening, we were all
Okay,
free.
so
yeah.
you weren't in there overnight.
No, no.
And so that was the county jail, and
Yeah.
that was at the courthouse at the time,
In Boulder.
at the downtown courthouse. Yeah, yeah.
I
So
think
you're
that-
famous.
The Louisville 13, they called it.
Yeah, well, and then one of our
Scary.
ex-firemen was, he lived in Hawaii, and it made the papers in Hawaii.
Oh,
Old
wow.
Jimmy Steinbach.
Yeah.
Him and Dolores.
Yeah.
I guess Herb and
Yeah.
Longjack went to a Bronco football game out in San Francisco, and they got to talking to somebody, and they said they were from Louisville, and he said he was the mayor, and he said, "Oh, I saw your picture in the paper in California."
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it was nationwide.
It sure was. Yeah.
But it was a
So-
long, drawn-out affair
so-
before they ever brought us to trial.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Labor Day was a fun day for the fire department.
It sure was.
Every Labor Day.
We used to have tug of wars
Yeah.
with the farmers and the fire department. And naturally, who won, there was a keg of beer.
There was always a
Yeah.
keg of beer.
Oh,
Just
always a
whatever
keg of
we
beer.
did.
Always.
We always had such good fun. I think we had good banquets too. The banquets were nice to go to from, northern field meets and state field meets, and that's when we decided at one of these banquets to start a Past Chiefs Club.
So the Past Chiefs Club has been going for about how many years?
September 27th of 1972.
Is that when it was? I still got my card in my wallet. This is my original
Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what, 40 years?
Well, 20, 30, 43 years.
43
Yeah.
years we've been
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. Well, back
thought
when
it was
when you were firefighters, were you also in the parade? Did you have one of the old hose carts or anything that you
We did do that.
We
pulled out
had
for the
hose cart.
parade?
Yeah.
We had the hose cart, we had the team, and we did demonstration races with the hose cart. We never did competition.
Up in Netherlands,
Netherlands we did.
we did once.
A
Yeah,
competition,
Netherlands Fire
yeah.
Department, yeah.
Yeah,
I think we did a long one too.
that must have been after me.
Yeah.
Does the fire department still have the hose
So
cart?
we have one hose cart, it's in the new station, the training station on, over
On Main?
on the new
Oh,
building they just
over
built.
by Exempla? Is that where that?
Yeah, and over there off of,
Well, I don't know the name of the road there, it's straight south.
96,
No.
the Dillon.
88.
88.
Yeah.
South
It's south of the
88.
cemetery, it's directly south of the cemetery. It used to be a dirt road, it's paved
Well,
now.
that's 104th.
That's
Okay.
104th.
104th.
That's where it is.
Oh, is that back into the industrial park?
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
area?
yeah.
Yeah.
CTC. Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
training station
Yeah.
that we had just built,
I think I now remember,
came
yeah.
about last summer, they
Yeah,
had a grand
hearing
opening.
about it, okay.
Yeah.
And that's so they have space over there, that's why the hose cart
They have,
is
well, they have
there.
like a nice showroom like type deal in there.
Oh.
And they got that hose cart in there, right up front, big windows and stuff.
So the
As you
public
drive by, you can see
can
it.
go
Yeah,
in to,
Right.
It used to be
still
here
got
in
our-
Station 2,
Yeah.
out here on the top of the, whatever that building
Yeah.
or whatever that room is down below. But they wanted to move it out there and show it off.
does,
Well, you can drive by there and see it now.
Still got our old fire truck too. We got our old 32 Chevy fire truck that we've had since 32, I guess.
Yeah.
And we used it for a team truck for the events, for the northern and the state competition, the races that we used to run.
Now it's in Labor Day Parade every year and the Past Chiefs is on it.
okay. They also have the big engines in the parade.
Oh, every one of them, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's probably more engines in there than anybody in this county.
It was the next progression up from the hose cart.
Okay, yeah, so it is,
Well,
yeah,
I understood.
but it's still running.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the first motorized fire truck that the city of Louisville had.
Yeah, that's
That
what I
was the
say.
first- The first one, yeah.
That was the transition
Right.
between the
Oh,
whole.
yeah, right, you're right,
Because
yeah.
they used to have little corner stations where they kept the hose carts
Right, exactly,
rather than in the central fire hall.
right.
I think there was one where Henry Robinson used to live on the corner of South Street and Lincoln.
Yeah, and there was
There's one there and one
right
in
up
French
there
Town.
on Griffith and
Oh.
Caledonia, not Caledonia, but Harper.
Yeah, Harper.
Little Italy.
Little Italy, yeah.
Right across the tracks a little bit.
Yeah, over on the right
I
hand
think there
side.
was one in
Right where they're
south of
building
Louisville
that.
too.
Yeah, there's one down the south.
All manpower.
Yeah.
Did you have to be with the fire department to participate in any of those?
I don't know. I think probably it was all firemen, but if,
Might have recruited
I don't
guys
know,
up.
I don't know if they recruited people in Mountain Line or not.
Guess they take anybody that was handy in those days.
I imagine that's probably true,
Of course, the fire department's got a long history, what,
yeah.
Yeah, 1817, what?
1787 or something, huh?
Yeah.
Long time.
How did you keep in shape to do all of this?
Drink your beer.
I don't know if you ever
You
noticed.
didn't go and work out at
People
the
are gonna watch
Y?
this, people are gonna watch this tape and they'll think we're like.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you would go through this.
Well, anybody can do it.
The five of us that are here, if you went through the five of us that is here, if you'll notice, if you have t-shirts on, the right arm is bigger than the left.
Oh,
That's from, I don't know if you ever noticed.
oh, I thought it was
From
from
our exercise.
picking up the
That's
hose.
our exercise.
You had me fooled.
We have a lot of parties.
Yeah. Well, I remember years ago too, when they bought this truck here, Herb Steinbach, he was a great, great guy. But he always made sure there was a quart of whiskey behind the seat in both of these fire trucks. And when we had a cold night or a fire or be out, he'd
Well,
haul out the jug when everything was under control and we'd all have a drink.
yeah.
As a matter of fact, him and Long Jack went back and bought it.
You're right, exactly.
Herb.
Well,
But,
that's probably why you didn't need psychologists.
yeah, right.
Herb Steinbach, Lawrence Crancy, Frank Malzik, and myself left here in Herb's old 49 Pontiac, drove all the way straight through to Marshalltown, Iowa, where they built this truck. And we drove it halfway back and stayed in Fremont, Nebraska, and had supper that night, and then drove it on into Louisville the next day.
So you had ordered it made especially for
Yeah,
the.
It was like a rural
You still do
rural
today.
truck the way it
Yeah.
was built. It was a rural truck the way it was built.
All trucks are special ordered. They don't sell them off the shelf.
So there was a company in Marshalltown that was.
built it for
That's
us.
what they were doing. And is that, how long has it been since that was taken to a fire?
Well, we don't have it
I
anymore.
don't think we even have it anymore. I
We
think
gave it away.
we
Who did we
gave
give it to, Dwayne?
I can't remember, some mountain
it
town.
some mountain.
I can't remember who it was.
It was a good truck.
Oh, yeah.
It's a truck, very good truck.
Better than the city truck we had at that time.
Absolutely.
in my
They-
opinion.
I believe who they got to give it to, they were in need of a truck.
Had to have something.
And
Yeah.
at that time, we were purchasing new equipment and everything, so we just donated it to them.
So you don't know what
I don't remember.
happened to
I
it.
don't remember who it was.
Well, besides lifting the right arm, what what did you do you had to be pretty strong to fight fires.
Well, I think most everybody's job.
Yeah.
They were working on it at the time that way. They got our exercises working.
Well, but people might have been working at a desk rather than, construction or whatever.
I would
so-
imagine some of them guys
Yeah.
come home and run a
They
couple
had to-
laps around the block or
Yeah.
something.
I
Yeah.
get that.
Well, I, a couple of times saw the present-day fire department firefighters running as a
Yeah.
group down, I think it was down Lincoln, and
We
So
didn't
I-
have any formal program.
you didn't,
No
you didn't.
formal.
We didn't have time for that.
No formal.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't, we didn't have a rec center, we didn't
Yeah,
have
sure.
that
Yeah.
kind of stuff available. I mean,
Yeah.
it was all, your exercise was mostly around your yard and
And then the whatever,
your job and,
yeah,
you know.
the exercise you got by fighting fires and picking people up and,
Yeah,
Since they remodeled Station 1 upstairs, there's a little room off the upstairs portion, there's a little room, and they have a workout room that's just as good as any
really, oh,
place.
yeah, yeah. But in your days, they didn't have that, probably weren't even thinking about it.
we practiced quite a bit when we
I
were
think,
going
yeah.
to the northern and the state meets.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
We did a lot of running,
We did a lot of running, yeah.
jumping off the trucks and
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
wrapping up hose and
So
Carrying
what were
it.
the state meets like? I mean,
what were they?
what happened at the state meets?
Any city or town that wanted to participate,
There's been as many as 30
They'd been
fire
member of the
departments.
state
yeah.
association.
yeah, and then different cities would host it every
Four
year.
different races
Okay,
and it lasted 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days of events, and then they had a big
Fire schools
that
going on
night.
at that time.
Yeah, fire schools.
Fire schools at the time.
Yeah, they had fire schools. And,
well, for the contest, was it how fast you could get the hoses off and?
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, knock a ball off of a stand.
Oh,
It
okay,
was all timed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a trophy case out here, it's got a lot of our trophies in it.
uh-huh,
One in Station 1 and one here.
The truck would go 15 miles an hour on 2 of the events. You had to jump off of it and pull the hose and put the nozzles on and either climb a ladder or shoot the balls off. Yeah, so it was kind of hazardous.
Yeah. First one I went to, this is Leo, first one I went to was in 1955 in Durango. That was quite a trip, you know. I'd never been in that part of the country before.
Yeah.
So just to drive over there and
Yeah,
being over
yeah.
there over Wolf Creek Pass and down through there was,
and you
It
were
was a
driving
nice
your
time.
fire truck?
no, driving
Or
the cars. We took
Okay.
our own personal
Uh-huh.
cars and we
Paid our
raised
own
money for that. To
Yeah.
pay for the motels and
Yeah.
the food
Yeah.
and whatever else it took, gasoline to and from. We didn't have any money in our till, so we had to, if you wanted to go and participate, it cost you.
Leo,
Yeah.
that was my wife and I's first meet.
Durango?
Durango.
Yeah.
And then we were lucky enough to ride with Bud Bardet all the way over.
Oh, I remember that. I
That's
remember you
right.
talking about that.
I remember me getting out of the
All
car.
right, was Bud Bardet anyway.
So was he chief at the time, or what?
He had been chief, he was a chief too at one time,
Yeah,
but he was
he
still a
wasn't
member of
chief
the
then.
fire department.
But it was exciting. We stayed at that little old motel and the owner took us fishing up on some private ground up on the Animas River, and we caught a bunch of fish and he prepared them for us, and we had a big fish fry right there at his motel.
Super.
It was great.
And this was sponsored by the Durango Fire Department?
Well, probably
Came from all.
sponsored by the state, but
Uh-huh.
hosted by
Okay.
Durango.
By the city of
They
Durango.
moved it every year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It moved all over.
Did you ever host it here?
No.
No, we were too small. Boulder did once.
Boulder did.
Estes
Or
Park
got kicked
did.
out over there for making too much noise.
I think Loveland did once.
Couple times, Loveland did a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had some fun with all your work. You
Estes
deserved
Park
it.
had it.
We went as far as Gunnison, to Glenwood Spring.
Twice.
Twice.
Gunnison twice.
Vail.
Glenwood
Was
Springs.
it Bill, what time?
Yeah.
Well,
Vail.
needless to say, with all of the northern meets,
We were
and the state
practicing in
meets,
the hallways. of the
we were always
hotel.
there.
Yeah.
Vail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's Lamar, what time?
Couple
Yeah.
times, Lamar,
Yeah.
Cortez.
Did you worry about, when you were gone, did you worry about fires that might occur in Louisville? Did some other department stand by, or how did you?
Well, there was a
There
number of
was
people
only
still
about
left
10
here.
on the team,
There was only like,
Yeah.
at the most.
Oh, okay, and so there.
8 to 10 on the team.
Yeah, so
and
people could.
So you still had,
these
30 or
five
more
people
people.
here were on every team that we ever run.
And you won some trophies.
We
Lot of
we
them.
won a lot of trophies.
A lot of trophies.
Yeah.
yeah,
Northern meets, we took a lot of trophies.
Especially in, up by Greeley,
Each,
LaSalle.
So,
LaSalle.
That was one of the better ones, because we won the meet and we had a great ride home. We took the little truck up there, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact.
Two, Windsor.
Yeah,
Les Davis
was driving,
Les Davis was driving.
because he
us
didn't
home.
drink.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good times, us guys.
Yeah.
Oh, my God,
Yeah.
that was a trip.
That was a trip, man. That was, I remember that one.
I think that was the same trip, we were sitting on the curb there, and of course, we had to have a beer, it was Sunday and you couldn't buy beer anyway. And this guy come walking by, and so we got to talking to him, hey, do you know where you can get us a beer today? He says, yeah. I said, "No." So we all pitched in a few bucks, and we were sitting right there, looking right down the alley of the street, and he just kept going, never did come back.
Never did come back.
Took your money? Paid for his own, nobody else's.
Well, he knew where he could get some for beer.
So were your wives or families with you on?
Oh, yeah.
on these?
All the time.
It was kind of a-
All the
It was a
time.
family outing too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was our annual vacation.
That's a fact.
Yeah. Do they still have those competitions that you?
They still have them. I don't
Northern
believe this Louisville Fire
Doesn't
Department
participate.
belongs to anything. I don't know if they do or not.
They
But
still belong to the
Laf-
state association.
They belong to
but
the
they don't,
state, but they don't
have
compete in any
racing.
They don't belong to the
I think
Northern.
Lafayette still does.
State, yeah,
Uh-huh.
Northern.
State, I think that, I don't know. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
Don't know if it still exists in order.
I think it
I
still,
think it still
it
exists.
still exists, but it's mostly three-man teams.
Yeah, Lafayette
Six-man
still
team.
participates.
Oh, are they?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of lost track.
So what am I missing here? What stories were you thinking about in this last 2 years since we interviewed you before?
The Past Chiefs Club was just if you wanted to be a member, then, you came and joined the group. But there's quite a few past chiefs for the fire department that has never belonged to the Past Chiefs Club, per se.
Right.
And we have a lot because, as I mentioned earlier, they had some problems in the fire department before any of us ever got in, and with funds and chiefs and this sort of thing, and they set a limit that you could only serve 1 year as chief.
I see, that's where it
because
came
nobody
from.
could get in there and kind of build their little empire. And so we had a lot of past chiefs as compared to a lot of fire departments because, well, like now, 12 years or how long was
10.
10
10 years.
years.
And so, and of course it's paid now, but, so actually, when
We'd vote for a
things
assistant.
split
Yeah.
between the old volunteer fire department and the existing Louisville Fire Department. So there can be no more past volunteer fire chiefs.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I think Chris
Yeah,
Estes was the
I
last
never
one, wasn't he?
thought about that, but,
Yeah.
yeah, and we were just talking that our 4 Mile Fire Department that was formed in like about 1960, there have only been, I think, 4 chiefs.
Yeah. So we had a lot
And
of
one,
chiefs.
one woman was 28 years or something.
My goodness.
She was chief, yeah.
What we would do is vote every year
Uh-huh,
for an assistant chief.
I see.
And the person that was assistant chief the previous year would automatically become chief.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So that's the
And
That's how.
obviously it worked pretty well.
It did.
I think it worked.
It worked
pretty.
well.
I think it worked pretty good for this department at that time.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a little better to be 2 years, maybe because it took you
Yeah.
quite a while to get your feet on the ground and just get things going, and your years seemed to be up. But
It was a lot of hard work, and 1 year was plenty for a person, I think, because by the time you tried to weigh your fireman.
Your daily, yeah, right.
And
With
then
your
your
work.
family and work and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
It took a toll on
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But on the
It's a lot of
upside, we
responsibility.
may not have a past chiefs club.
that's right.
Yeah.
No, it
Sure.
all worked out well,
Right,
but
yeah.
It evolved
in
from
hindsight, I think
right here.
Yeah.
What was it? We was at a banquet, as a matter of fact, when, who was it?
Andy and Cable.
Andy and Cable suggested it.
Yeah.
Let's see, Cable was Cable the first president?
Yes.
And John Lombardi was the treasurer,
Johnny
and Johnny Ross was the secretary.
Andy, my uncle Andy Dvorsky was second in command, vice president.
Vice
Yeah.
President. Yeah. 1972.
Remember John Ross, the secretary? He'd make up stories and put them in the Louisville Times. Some big fire inspector from someplace was visiting the department and everything.
Dignitary. I was always a
Dignitary. There was
dignitary.
always a dignitary.
Yeah, right.
And he made
Invisible
he made a
dignitary.
thing to put it in the paper after for every month, once a month.
Yeah.
It was being printed in the paper, a little, the Past Chiefs Club had a dignitary.
Well, we never had a whole lot of formal business in the Mass Chiefs Club. It's just kind of a social group, and we had a lot of fun with it too.
Do you meet at one certain place every time, or
George's
move
house.
around?
I'm hosting the meetings now for
Okay.
about the last couple of years.
At least.
Uh-huh.
When they rebuilt the #1 station, they kind of took away our
You
privileges
had a
down
little
there. We
meeting
used to
area
have
that
our
you could-
meetings at
yeah.
the old fire hall down there.
Yeah.
And then
They used
they
the kitchen.
No
kind of
kitchen.
kept us out of the kitchen, and they wouldn't let us have a beer, and those were two essential things for the past chief,
They
because that's
probably
all we do is
don't have any fun anymore.
No doubt.
It didn't hurt us any, because George has been good enough to
George has it.
have it now, but see,
Yeah.
there's only
Well,
about
it's out.
12,
Yeah.
what is there, 12?
13. I think.
13?
We got 13 pages.
13 paid.
But this is doing, anyhow, we do more as a Past Chiefs Club than eat and drink. I mean,
Good.
we do a lot of good for the community. We donate to a lot of worthy
Scholarships.
different
Yeah.
things. So
Oh, okay.
we do a lot of good.
And we donated to Lyons Fire Department and
Jamestown.
Jamestown Fire Department after the
Oh,
flood.
after the
For the
flood.
flood relief,
Yeah, flood relief.
Yeah, $500 each we gave them.
Cancer,
which is a lot of money for the past chief,
Sure,
because we
yeah.
don't have a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
and cancer funds, cancer
Yeah.
raising, Centaurus Band, Monarch lacrosse team. We
Yeah, we.
do a lot of donations.
I was being a little facetious when I said we just.
I know.
But it's a fun group
Yeah.
to be around.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of them can't hear, but it's fun.
So, do your family are they still involved in any way? Because they used to be, it was really a cooperative thing of
Yeah,
families.
we have an annual picnic every year, and we have an annual dinner around the Christmas season every year. And the wives or the guest is invited. We invite in the past, we invited the past chief and his spouse.
The board of directors too, don't we? At the board?
Used to work.
Don't
Used
we
to.
invite them, or
Yeah,
we don't?
we used to.
We used
Used to, don't anymore?
I remember at our annual picnic in the summertime, and the kids were there, and everybody was there, and we used the little fire truck, take all the kids down to the show. so they could go to the show, and then we'd come back and play games ourselves.
That was the firemen.
Yeah,
Not the fire chiefs.
it's not the fire, well, not the fire chiefs, the regular fire department though. But egg toss was a favorite, I think,
Yeah.
at that time.
Were you ever involved with, was fishing derby going the time when you were involved with the fire department? Did you get involved with that at all?
No.
That's more
That was
recent.
Robert.
That's a Louisville Rod and Gun Club.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a different.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different.
Most of us are members of
Yeah.
the Rod and Gun Club too.
Who were the other fire chiefs? You mentioned that there are usually about 13.
Well, Dale Fry is one. That he was planning on being here today. Something must have come up though.
Wayne Barr.
Wayne Barr, he's a board member here.
Who's on the
Yeah.
present board?
Dean Weber.
Yeah, Dean.
George Lazook.
Yeah, Lazook used to be. He did.
Who am I missing?
Uh,
From the top, I'm gonna.
Chris Mestis.
Yeah, Chris would be the last volunteer. Brown.
Howard Pollock.
Yeah.
Mark Weber.
Larry Hudson.
Larry Hudson, Mark
Yeah.
Weber.
Mark Weber, he's an honorary.
That's about it.
Boy,
Yeah.
That,
About it.
yeah,
that's pretty much
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
well, Dave was.
Yeah.
So there were two.
But as George mentioned, there's several more out there
All
that
past chiefs.
never did belong for
yeah,
reasons.
yeah,
One reason or another.
yeah.
Probably
But it's
about
still-
5 or 6 more,
More than that.
And
maybe.
What, that don't belong?
Yeah.
That were? Oh, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Well, if you figure,
Quite a
yeah,
few.
over
If you
all
go
those
down,
years, yeah.
in Station 1, all of the chiefs, our pictures are there, down there. They have a special part where they've set aside for that.
over on the wall.
It's on the wall in Station 1. And there's quite a few guys when you
There's
think.
Little John, Kenny
Yeah.
Buffalo, Dan Ross,
Quite a-
Chuck, yeah.
Chuck Schmidt.
Little
Not
John?
Chuck Boylan,
Yeah.
Tommy Boylan.
Chuck Schmidt.
Tommy. Ferrari, Vince Ferrari.
Yeah.
There's quite a few actually.
Lots, lots,
15.
lots of
Randall.
still in Louisville. Yeah, yeah.
Some of them have moved out.
Wrangle.
Hail Lily for one.
Yeah.
Wrangle. Pale Lily.
Yeah. My God.
There are quite a few.
Quite a few.
It's a great crew, so hang in there.
We think so.
The main
Yeah,
ones stayed.
Cream of the crop.
of course, of course.
All the young ones left, all the old ones stayed.
Yeah.
We're all the old ones, the young ones are all gone.
I see.
Our roots are too deep here to move.
That's right.
Yeah. It's a great place
Well,
to be.
we were kind of involved in the origins, you know.
Sure,
And
yeah.
feel some kind of deep attachment to the past chiefs, the fire department, whole
Yeah.
works.
Some of us got in the 50s and we got to associate with those people that were before us, like Jenkins, you know, and John Stevens and Mike Fabrizio and Tony White, Tony Jacobet, and L.J. Massoni, and
Yeah.
you know, and they were all part of our club at one time,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
if you sit there and start talking to them, then you could get way back in history, and it was really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and they attended the meetings regularly. I think it was a good out for them to a little getaway and the association with the fire department and the transition.
Well, the fire department's been part of the core of Louisville, you know, for so many years that a lot of the history of the city is associated with the fire department in some way or another, or the members of the fire department. Most of the businessmen in town were all members way back when, and were instrumental in bringing all this stuff together.
It's a shame that they tore down the old fire station there on Main Street, in between where the city has the old
What the hell was his
And next-
name? Roy?
Yeah, Austin.
Roy
Oh, yeah.
Austin's house.
The restaurant,
Where the car wash used to be on the north end of the station, that's where the old fire hall's at. It was kind of a quaint old building, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a beautiful old building.
The architecture of it.
No.
No, they tore it down.
They didn't burn down.
They tore it down.
It was 2-story, had a
Yeah.
nice, beautiful steeple on it with
When did that
Fire
happen? When
bell.
did it get torn down?
Oh, man.
that was in the 50s.
In the 50s,
because I was working at the station when they were tearing it down. I was working part-time at,
Early
it was
50s,
the
huh?
Phillips 66 station on the corner at that time.
Harold Cornelius had to go up, and during the wintertime, they had a pot-bellied stove upstairs where they had the meetings. He was responsible for going up and
We'd sleep
Get
there.
the-
starting a fire in the
Getting the
pot-bellied
stove
stove,
going,
get it
yeah.
warmed up there.
The driveway came right out to Main Street, right out the front door.
The old bell is up at the station on Main Street. It's a monument there now. That was in the tower years ago.
Then we moved into where the city hall is right now. Right on the alley between Pine Street and, not Pine Street, Main Street and Lafarge. The station was right on the alley and opened up into Spruce Street there. And
I think
it
most
was
of,
there, that was the one that the fire department members built.
yeah,
They built the entire
the
station.
whole thing.
It was all cinder block.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the new Station 1, when it was built, a lot of the guys, there was a train derailment in town, and it happened to be loaded with drywall. And that's where the upstairs, we finished the upstairs with the drywall off that train. Because we...
Came at the right time, huh?
But it was all volunteer.
It was all volunteer, they had
Yeah.
they had to get the
Yeah.
stuff off the train, so,
Yeah.
you know, we said that we would take some of it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Al Del Pitts, old bricklayer.
I was going to ask if any of you were in construction at the time, or?
Yeah, most
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot, who else has, Aldo Pitts and all his brothers, probably.
They did
Al.
most of the brickwork.
Most of the brickwork.
El Romano.
Al Romano.
Al Romano. Yeah, and this Steinbaugh's, all the materials. I don't know where the money came from for the materials. Maybe the city paid for that. But I know that all of the labor was all volunteer.
Did you have a grand opening when you got it finished?
Several.
Yeah.
Every meeting.
Every meeting.
So what year would that have been?
I didn't hear you.
What year?
Probably 56 or 7, something like that.
No, I was in the department.
Yeah, me too. It had to be after 65, Leo.
Yeah.
Because I remember hauling drywall with my pickup from the train wreck up to the fire hall.
Oh, the new one.
Oh, the new one.
We're talking about
We're talking about the old
on Main
one.
Street.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
That one was 64.
I would say that
When
would
they were built,
be
yeah.
Main Street.
Right.
Well, which is the one that you
real
built?
early 50s.
Early 50s.
Which was the one that you built? Was that the?
The one on
That's
Main
Yeah.
Street.
on Main
Yeah.
Street.
And so
Downtown.
that,
Spruce.
Where the city
Okay.
hall is now.
Yeah.
and so that
Spruce
was,
and Main.
that was in the 50s or 60s?
Yeah, 50s.
That'd be the
Early
real
50s.
early 50s.
Uh-huh.
Really early. I think Andy was chief.
It might have even been the late 40s, right after the war.
52.
I think they did that right after the Second World War.
Well, I'm confused,
Everybody
is
came
that the
home.
one that you got the drywall from
No,
the
that's,
train?
That
Yeah.
was,
that's for this one, Station 1 down here. That
Okay, so
That's
that was
station
later
one.
then,
That's later.
so that's what Bill was talking about, that
Yeah,
one that you, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you build that one too?
A lot
A
of it.
lot of the upstairs.
Upstairs we did.
All the finish work on the inside,
What's his name?
none of the building inside.
Fleming.
Fleming.
Fleming built the building.
Jean has a question.
Do you remember the bell ringing after the war at the old fire station?
Oh, yeah, the bell used to ring a lot in Louisville.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I remember the VJ Day celebration on Main Street.
Main Street.
I only lived a block off of Main Street.
They used
The
to,
bells were ringing, all the church bells,
Catholic
the
church
city
bells
bells,
ringing.
everything was ringing. Sirens were blowing, and the streets were packed.
they had that memorial for all of the men from Louisville that were in World War I down there on Main Street. And
In front of the old fire hall.
right in front of the old fire hall. And that was kind of a focal point down there, you know, big granite slab and sitting on a base with all those guys'
And it went
names
up to
etched on
the
it.
Legion Hall, didn't it? And then it went out to the
It's out
cemetery.
the cemetery now.
Cemetery now.
Oh, it's out at the cemetery now,
Yeah.
at the Louisville.
Mhm.
Any other questions, Jean? I don't have any more questions. If we're missing something, now's the time.
You missed a lot of fun.
Well, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I was involved with the 4 Mile Fire Department, but I don't think we had nearly.
4 Mile?
Yeah, I do remember somebody bringing a truck full of snow filled with cans and
Cans of
jars and things up to the top of Mount Alto, and having a big picnic up there.
We had a party for every holiday there was,
But
and some in between.
I think we had 4th of July.
Like I say, it was
We missed out.
socialized in Louisville. We-
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause
Well,
they
it was
were-
kind of the social life in 4 Mile too, but not to quite the same extent. Of course, it wasn't that many people then.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, one thing we
Yeah.
did do was, I remember, up there at Allen's Lake, what's the name of that settlement up there? Allen's Lake. Remember we went up and helped them set up their fire department?
Pinebrook Hills? No.
Pinedale?
No, it's that one, no. They
Allen's
built all
Park?
them really nice houses around that Allen's Lake up there, and it was a gated community.
There's a Pine, is that
Pine, is that Pine?
I
Pine
thought it was
something
Pinebrook Hills.
Lake up there?
Well, maybe it is.
Well, there's
But anyway,
Pinebrook
we went-
Hills, and then,
we
but
helped
there's
them set up
also
their fire department.
a lake, which was a gated community up between Boulder and Lyme.
Lyme.
There, that's the one, that's
Yeah,
the one.
yeah.
That's the one, that was Allen, used to be Allen's Lake. They
Yeah,
changed
Yeah,
the name
yeah.
of it.
Right.
But I think the development is like Pinewood or Pine
Trailer
or something,
waters.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we helped those folks set up their fire
Uh-huh.
department.
Forgot to turn loose.
Well, there was a lot of
I did that
cooperation between
Being in
the volunteer
Oh,
fire
yeah.
departments, I
Yeah,
think,
that's
through the years.
Yeah, yeah.
And there probably still are, with more developed,
Well,
but
I'm sure they are.
But when you think of all the small fire departments that got started, and probably needed help getting going.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
going up there a couple evenings and helping those folks,
Uh-huh.
training and helping them with their fire department.
Well, when you think back, the fire departments really were, like you say, sort of the center of the social life of any community or development in general areas.
Still are in a lot of the rural areas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you did a great service for the community, for sure. And I don't have any more questions. I think we can say we've had a good
Well, it
talk.
was a good feeling to
Yeah.
know that you were just a
Yeah.
little part of
Yeah,
the whole
right,
show.
Part of the
right,
show.
right. Well, more
Yeah.
than a little
Feels
part.
good.
When you think, what was Louisville, about 2,300,
20,
yeah, people
Yeah.
at that time, rather than 23,000, it was 2,300 around that, and so it was a huge part of the community.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah.
Well, we've all got good feelings about it, that's for sure.
Well, and that's what counts. Yeah,
That's the main
Yeah, and I
thing.
think other people do too. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it again, and we'll get copies to you.
Good.